My friend and I love exploring abandoned villages and settlements. Some of them were deserted after the war. Others emptied out because people moved to larger towns due to a lack of amenities like gas or electricity. But some villages were abandoned suddenly, as if the people just dropped everything and left in a panic or simply disappeared. Being in places like that makes your heart race, and adrenaline surges through your veins. One Friday evening, my friend calls me, practically shouting with excitement. "Dude, I found something incredible. You won't believe it. I'll send you a link to an article in the chat. Read it and reply." The chat window blinked. I quickly opened the link and started reading. The article was about an old amusement park outside the city. Years ago, a large number of people disappeared there, including the staff who worked at the park. The police investigated but never found anything. A local businessman wanted to buy the park, but all the equipment mysteriously broke down for no apparent reason. So the park stood untouched for years, covered in rust. The place intrigued me, so I replied to my friend with just one sentence. "We're going tomorrow." The next day, armed with flashlights and dressed for the weather, it was a rainy day. Of course, we set out following the directions from the website. After a few hours of winding roads and confusing turns, we finally found the place. It seemed like no one had been there in a long time, and the road was overgrown with bushes. We had to continue on foot. After trudging through the mud for about 40 more minutes, we saw the park through the trees. Because of the rain, it started to get dark early, so we decided to quickly check out the park and head home, especially since my friend was sniffling and sneezing, probably coming down with a cold. "Welcome. I hope you enjoy your visit and have fun at our park." A creepy voice drawled behind me. I jumped, startled. "It's just a clown," my friend laughed at me. "It's amazing, after all these years, and it's still working." We moved closer to look at the clown. A life-size toy clown sitting in a wooden booth, waving its arms in a greeting to invite visitors to the park. Now, the clown looked ridiculous. Its clothes were tattered, the paint on its face was peeling and cracked, and one eye had fallen out, dangling by a few wires. Everything in the park had a creepy vibe, and I felt a chill run down my spine. The dirty, striped blue and white canvas of the carousel's roof flapped in the wind. The carousel itself was rusted, and the horses, once happily galloping around, had broken off their mounts and lay scattered around the park. I started feeling uneasy and telling my friend that my head hurt and that there was nothing interesting here. I turned back toward the path. "Wait," my friend said, grabbing my sleeve. "I saw something over there." He pointed toward the abandoned vendor stalls, the kind that used to sell balloons and cotton candy. Or maybe it was nothing, probably just the wind. We barely made it out of the gates and reached the trees when a loud metallic screech sounded behind us. We exchanged frightened looks and dove into the nearest bushes. We sat there, not daring to move, watching in horror as strange things began to happen in the park. All around, colorful lights and garlands started turning on, and old-fashioned music began to play, sounding eerie in the empty park. The clown in the booth started waving its arms again, and its appearance began to change. The dangling eye snapped back into place, the cracks on its face smoothed over, and the peeling paint restored itself. The clown's clothes looked brand new, without a single hole. "Welcome, welcome," the clown called out cheerfully, its eyes spinning comically. The carousel's roof started pulling itself together, and the horses regained their bright colors, returning to their mounts. It was as if time was running backward, like in a movie when the film rewinds slowly. The Ferris wheel cleared itself of rust and lit up with hundreds of festive lights. The broken tracks of the roller coaster reassembled, and the cars returned to their starting positions. The vendor stalls lit up with lights, filling with balloons, cotton candy, and popcorn displays. Then, from out of nowhere, transparent figures began to walk through the park gates. Ghostly people and children filled the park, riding the rides, laughing and having fun. One boy won a large stuffed elephant at a shooting gallery and gave it to a little girl standing nearby. The girl hugged the elephant and jumped up and down in joy. Cheerful, ghostly clowns on stilts strolled through the park, making balloon animals and juggling while riding unicycles. We sat just a few yards away from the park's metal fence, frozen with astonishment, too scared to move. A strange, growing hum came from the forest on the far side of the park, and blue flashes of light began to glow on the horizon, rapidly approaching the park. A bizarre, dense mass, flickering with lights and lightning like energy, loomed over the park, sending out black whirlwinds that swept through everything in their path. Anyone caught in those whirlwinds was sucked into the dark mass above the park, disappearing as if they had never existed. My friend grabbed my shoulder, pulling me toward the path, terrified that the dark mass would get us too. I finally snapped out of it, and we sprinted toward the car. I could hear branches snapping behind us, as if someone was chasing us. My heart was pounding out of my chest. The terrifying hum grew louder and louder behind us. I barely managed to turn the key, start the car, and floor the gas, my hands trembling the entire time. When we finally got home, I felt safe again. Since that day, we gave up our hobby, and nothing strange has happened to us since. Except that I still often dream of a little girl, standing alone in the dark, hugging her stuffed elephant and crying. "10:40 p.m. Peter, as usual, was about to settle down to read his favorite book and sip some slightly strong coffee. Just as he turned on the lamp, his phone rang. Who would need me this late? Peter thought, answering the call. Hey Peter, it's me, Sam. Remember we went to school together? Oh, I'm so glad to hear from you, Sam. Peter exclaimed with joy. We haven't seen each other in ages. I wanted to catch up and see what's new. I thought I'd invite you over. How does that sound? I'd be happy to, Peter responded. Then tomorrow, at 8 p.m. I still live in the same place, Sam said before saying goodbye. The next day after work, a tired Peter came home and sat in his chair to relax. It was all routine. He grabbed his book and was about to start reading again when he remembered the call from last night. Peter recalled the meeting, glanced at the clock. 7:50 p.m. In a hurry, Peter put on his shoes and rushed to meet Sam. He made it just in time for 8 and met up with his old friend. After an hour, they caught up and drank some hot tea. Rain was pouring outside, accompanied by a thunderstorm. Peter scanned the walls and noticed a photograph. It showed a young girl, about 5 or 6 years old. Who's this? Peter asked, pointing at the picture. Oh, that. Sam sighed deeply. That's my daughter, Jenny. She's so beautiful. Where is she? Peter inquired. She died. A car hit her, Sam said sadly. Oh, I'm so sorry, Sam. I didn't mean to upset you, Peter said, feeling guilty. It's all right. She had a favorite toy, you see, over there on the nightstand. That's her doll, Sarah. Jenny never went anywhere without Sarah. Peter felt awkward continuing the topic and tried to change the subject. They talked for a while longer, and before they knew it, it was 11:34 p.m. Stay the night, Sam offered. I'm not sure. Peter hesitated. Sam convinced his friend, and Peter decided to stay. They all went to bed. In the middle of the night, Peter woke up with a strange feeling, as if someone was watching him. Looking around, he saw nothing unusual. He lay back down, his eyes wide open, lost in thought. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed something white. Alarmed, he got up to check the hallway. And then his heart sank. A small girl stood in front of him, holding Sarah. She walked further down the hall, and Peter followed her. But suddenly she vanished, and Peter stopped. He turned back, ready to return to bed, dismissing it as a hallucination. But just as he took a step, a terrifying face appeared right in front of him. The girl's eyes were like dark voids, and she had no jaw. In sheer terror, Peter fainted. When he woke up, He found himself in a room that was clearly a child's. He was sitting in a rocking chair, holding Sarah in his hands, and Jenny stood before him, glaring furiously at the doll in his arms. By morning, Peter's body was found. His jaw was completely gone, and his eyes were as black as the void.